Hello everyone, thank you so much for having me here today. It's a pleasure to speak to you about challenge event fundraising, something I'm really passionate about. So who am I? As you already know, I'm Callum and I'm the Challenge Events fundraiser at the Bone Cancer Research Trust. I've been involved in challenging events for 6 years, give or take, starting when I was at university to working for a charity in London. And I've led teams of people raising £1.2 million up Kilimanjaro to 250 runners in the Royal Parks Foundation half marathon. I love everything about challenges. It's a little bit sad, but so one of the things I want to really get across to you today is that challenges, we all face challenges every day. People don't have to take on challenges for your organisation. What I love about challenges is the fact that people achieve more than they ever thought possible. And I'll come on to this more later, but if that sticks with you, I'll be happy. So, who are the Bone Cancer Research Trust? We're the leading organisation funding research into primary bone cancer. We ourselves are a small organisation. We fund a rare disease, primary bone cancer. There's less than 160 cases a year. I know that's quite a lot, maybe in comparison to some of your organisations. But we do struggle because in the cancer community, cancer is seen as people funding cancer, but that funding doesn't necessarily get funneled through to the smaller cancers, which people often kind of miss when they, for example, do the Run for Life for CRUK. Although they do fantastic work, they don't necessarily reach down to where exactly they need to be. So, excuse the notes. So, in the last 10 years, we've achieved a hell of a lot. So we have come from having one member of staff based in a small room in a hospital in Leeds, to having an office of 11 people funding hopefully £1.1 million worth of research, or fundraising £1.1 million next year. So I'll carry on and talk about the events. So you all know the charity sector has faced some trouble in the last couple of years. Confidence in the charity sector has decreased. Now, there's little we can do about this. However, we can look at fundraising options that rebuild that confidence. Challenges offer a bridge between people directly donating to charity and people supporting a friend or donating to a friend. It's a lot easier to support Harry, who's running the London Marathon, than it is to support a charity that's come under scrutiny recently for their, mass mail-outs, for example. So, all charities are eager to grow income, and they all face the same challenge, which is, in a saturated market where everyone wants to build trust, there's lots of charities doing lots of challenges. Before I go on, I'll just explain something that I'm going to be talking about a little bit today, and that's the difference between pre-invested events and own place events. So pre-invested events are essentially where charities buy places in an event for a reduced cost, either directly from the organisation running the event or through a third party. Now, I will speak about this more in a moment, but the cost can vary between very expensive or very reasonable, and that will affect, obviously, the return you get from that event. However, if you do have many places in pre-invested events, you can often budget and forecast better, because you can often ask people to raise a certain amount for that event, and you know when that event's going to happen in the year. So it happens in June, you know most of that income's going to come in June. Own place events. Own place events are when people get a ballot place. They get their own place in the event, and therefore there's no cost to the charity at all, apart from the support costs of looking after that person. I love own place events. All of my own place people are absolutely wonderful. They're really fired up and motivated to raise money for your organisation. You need to look after them. So what are challenge events? I know this might seem silly as everyone who knows. But challenge events can be literally anything. So from runs, cycles, swims, skydives, triathlons, treks, they can be anything. And I mean literally anything that gets you out of your comfort zone. So a really good way to kind of understand this is I'm not going to make you do it, but if you got out your phone, unlocked it, and handed it to the person to the left of you, that would have you out of your comfort zone. Now that's what people feel, well, that's what I feel when I take on a marathon that I haven't done nearly enough training for. Getting out of your comfort zone is a huge, huge thing. The second point I really want to get across to you today is what's challenging to you may be different to someone else. So when you're providing events at your organisation, make sure you have a range of events to suit different people. Jackie might not be able to run 5k, and to her that's a challenge. And we shouldn't look down on that challenge because that's her challenge, that's her personal challenge. And if she's going to raise money for your organisation, fantastic. It doesn't matter if Tom over here is running or taking part in an Ironman, it simply doesn't matter. So at our organisation, just to give you a spectrum, our youngest event participants are Poppy and Ruby, and they're 6 and 10 years old. So they did the mini mudder last year, which they absolutely loved. And our oldest member is a gentleman called Norman Swatman, who has been involved in our events over the last 10 years. So he does Ride London pretty much every year. He couldn't do it last year because he broke his collarbone, but I mean at 69, not really blaming him. So it's always worth bearing in mind to have a range of events to suit all abilities and all personal challenges. Whether it's mental, whether it's physical, it doesn't really matter. So these are pros and cons, but I'm trying to make them all pros, sorry. So I'll do my best to spin it. It's a relatively reliable income source. Although you are in a saturated market, if you can reach that one person that wants to raise money for your organisation, they're going to raise money. And you can predict, give or take, when that money is going to come in. Compared to other channels of fundraising, it is kind of low yielding. The return on your investment is about 2 to 1. Now, that's why I love own place people, because own place people don't cost you anything, and yet they raise a lot. People don't take part in challenge events necessarily initially for the cause. People take part in challenge events because they see it as a challenge. And that's the challenge, is I want to run the London Marathon because I'm going to get that warm, fuzzy feeling inside when I've done it. So that can offer a challenge because lots of people can just wait for that ballot place to come along. And that's the challenge your organisation faces, is getting someone to do it for you. Upfront costs, depending on the events that you are running, they can be sky high or they can be very reasonable. It's important that within your plan as an organisation, you do factor in those event costs. Retention is difficult. If you get someone who has come to you purely because they want to run the marathon, that's it, they've run the marathon, what's bringing them back to you and your organisation? Now, one of the things I like to think when people do challenges is it's often not enough to just do a challenge. People can do, I'm going to use marathons because people run marathons all the time. London Marathon was a great example last weekend. People can run a marathon 5 times. And once they've done it 5 times, that feeling of, have any of you ever done a sporting event challenge or any other challenge? What have you done?
10K.
And did you get that feeling inside where you're like warm and fuzzy after doing it? That's why people fundraise eventually. Because people have done the challenge, they've had that feeling, and it's kind of reached a stage where they can't get that anymore, so they need to do something else. And that's when people start raising money for charities. This isn't a negative. It sounds like a negative. I've had this discussion with a few people, but high maintenance. People that do your challenges are high maintenance. They need looking after, they need reassuring, they need the information on what their money is going towards. They need that to understand why they're fundraising. They need support, they need hand-holding, they need a big hug when you welcome them. Not literally, but it would be nice sometimes. So they do require a lot of resource, but done right, they will come back to you. So there are thousands and thousands and thousands of challenge events in the market. I've just picked out a few here. So did anyone watch the London Marathon last weekend? Yeah. It was an incredible event. It's the biggest biggest marathon in the world. Most popular, let's say. So each year we are inundated with applications for people to run that. It's been very well established for a long, long time, so it's very popular. Events like Tough Mudder. Has anyone done a Tough Mudder here? No? Okay. I would recommend it. But Tough Mudders, it was a new event about 2 years ago in the UK, and it came about, not many people knew about it, and now it's kind of up there with the London Marathon, and it will be for many years to come. Events like the Fred Whitton Challenge, very few people have actually, has anyone heard of the Fred Whitton? You have?
From the Lake District.
Oh, okay, fantastic. But very few people have actually heard of it. So I've done the Fred Whitton, this year will be my 3rd time, and everyone I speak to hasn't heard about it. But yet they've managed to raise 1.1 million over the last, I think it's 7 years with that event. So when I said about keeping a range of events in mind, although yes, you've got the London Marathon and it's in London, it's big and it's grand, you've also got these smaller events which people might be more interested in. I'm going to come back and talk about Gung Ho and the London landmarks in a moment. So, choosing a successful event. There is no science, there isn't a book. I can't give you all a handout and say, this is going to be a successful event, but I can tell you a few things that I've looked out for and spotted over the last 6 years. So, is the event well established? The London Marathon has been running for the last, since I think it's 1989, and it's been running since then for a reason, because it's popular. If you have a place in the London Marathon, if your organisation has a place, you're guaranteed to fill it, because there's always going to be someone that wants to fill that place. Does the event sell out? Now, this has taken a lot of trial and error over the last 2 years, and when you do get into events, you will find everyone is trying to push their events on you. Now, before you do, get all the key information about those events. And one example is the Manchester Marathon. We bought about 15 places, so not loads, but we really struggled to fill them this year. And the reason was because they were on sale by the organisers for less than we were asking as an entrance fee and a fundraising target. Now, we're already facing the challenge of getting someone to fundraise for our organisation, a small, rare disease that not many people understand. And that's really key to making sure your event is successful. Make sure it's a sellout, because then charities have places that people want to fill. One example of this is the London Landmarks Half Marathon. Has anyone heard of it? So it's a brand new event in London next year. It's run by Tommy's, and it's actually been quite underground for a while, until a friend of mine in the events market told me about it, and I managed to secure our organisation 10 places. They're very last minute. Now, they had a pre-register for this event of 70,000 people. This is the first year for this event, and when I talk about spotting trends, this is something you've got to look out for. Their pre-register was at 20,000 before the deadline charities needed to buy places. So there's only 10,000 places available for people to run. So that's a really good indication that that event is going to be a sellout. Eventually, it did sell out in about 4 hours. The website crashed because they had 70,000 people trying to get those tickets, and there was only 10,000 available. And then there's another 10,000 tickets available for charities. And luckily enough, we had 10. They sold out in about 6 hours. But when you're looking at events, make sure it's a sellout. It's not always, as I say, there's no kind of right way or wrong way, but in my mind, that's a really good place to be. So does the event fill a gap in the market? I've spoken already today about marathons. I've got 2 marathons on there, a half marathon. Everyone likes running. Oh God, sorry. So does it fill a gap? Gung Ho is a 5K. It's aimed at people who don't want to run a marathon. It's aimed at people that, sorry, that's throwing me. Sorry. So it's aimed at people that don't want to run a marathon, run a half marathon, and it does fill a gap. And we opened it up as an own place, and it hasn't cost us anything. And we've got 30 people doing it for us. And whatever they raise is going directly towards our research. So what makes the event special? For example, Tough Mudder. It was the first mud run pretty much in the UK. People that had done a half marathon were like, oh, I need the extra challenge. Cost, I've already spoken about, ensuring your return on investment. Location, so although we're a small charity based in Leeds, we are also national. So our work is all over the UK and Ireland. So we need to make sure that our events are all over the UK and Ireland. But also think of your support costs. If you're based in Aberdeen, for example, and all of your events are in London, it's quite difficult to support your runners in the best way that you'd like to. So don't put your eggs in one basket. We're using the analogy of scrambled, boiled and poached. Not everyone likes a run, not everyone likes a swim, not everyone likes a cycle. So that's going back to offering a range. So recruitment, I'll just whiz over this, although it's probably the most important slide. It's a challenge in itself. So use your contacts. What contacts does your organisation have, and how can you utilise them? So we didn't have a database for about 7 years, and that's really hampered us because at the end of the day, knowledge is power. If you know you have a group of people here that like running, they're the people that are going to do the runs for you. If you have people that like cycling, they're the people that are going to do the cycling for you. Call to action, make sure people don't go to your website and get lost. Having a clear call to action, the big red buttons work. So if you want someone to sign up, big red button saying sign up. It's really quite simple. People need to understand why they're supporting your cause and why they're supporting you, and I'll come on to the reason we give people at the end. So to reach new audiences, Facebook adverts, Twitter adverts, Instagram adverts, social media adverts as a whole, and the Google grant. So Google grant's a really interesting one because each charity gets $10,000 US a month to use on their Google grant, and that's essentially to push your listing up and up and up. So we didn't used to have it, and now every time you search bone cancer, we're at the top, which drives traffic to us and to our website, and that gets people coming to do events for us. Show people what's in it for them. So what do you get out of it? Again, that's about showing people why they're supporting your organisation and the work that you're doing. Incentives, everyone loves free things. If you're struggling to fill events, incentives really work. So stewardship, I spend a lot of time trying to develop our processes at work because, as I've already said, you can't support someone enough when they're doing something they don't necessarily have to do for your organisation. So first impressions count. What do they get in the post when they first sign up? Or do they get a phone call? I know in this newfangled age of texts and WhatsApps and Facebooks, it can often be easy to forget about the phone call. But picking up the phone and chatting to someone about, just chatting to them, is often the best way to give a best first impression. Diversify your communications. Emails work to an extent, but for example, with Tough Mudder, no one was reading the emails because I was getting texts all the time saying, what's happening on this day? When do I get this? So then we diversed and we used text communications to interact with them, and it really, really worked. It tends to be a younger demographic doing things like Tough Mudder, so I guess you kind of use younger technology. So put the supporter at the heart of everything you do. They are the ones that are going to help you grow as an organisation and help you fund whatever it is that you fund. Tell them the difference and make it tangible. So our London Marathon runners have just raised over £100,000, and that's enough to fund about 80% of a PhD student for 3 years. Now, we could have just said, thanks for raising £100,000, that's great. Telling them what they're actually funding really makes a huge difference. So thanking, you've kind of achieved everything else, and you've got to the stage where you've got someone that's raised money for your event, and then you want them to come back. So make the thank you as good as the welcome, like a big warm hug either end of the journey, and give them a reason to return. Now, I don't always get the above right. I don't think many people do. And as I said, there's no kind of art to it. There's no book I can give you to say, this is what you need to do, but I can just give you the best advice possible. So, coming back to the reason why, and this is my daily inspiration for giving people this opportunity. And also, for looking after our challenge events, fundraisers, and also we give this to them. So on here you've got Caleb, you've got Eddie Parry, you've got John. It's all these people I don't know. I've only been at the organisation for 2 years and 4 months. However, I know their stories and I see them every day. So this is my why. Finding out yours and showing it to your supporters is what's going to get them to come back. So thank you so much. I think I've kept it the time limit, but please, if you have any questions, just let me know.